It's Toronto's podcast on the Canada's Podcast Network.
So, Brit, how did you actually get started? Tell us a little bit about how you became an entrepreneur and your journey to get where you are now.
Yeah, my plan was never to become an entrepreneur. I was born in a small town in southern Ontario, Essex, so it's 7,000 people. After high school, moved to London to go to Western for 4 years, then moved to the GTA to work. And, I thought I would have a pretty traditional path, but I was very fortunate that in my first job, I got put on a small team to actually launch a company within a larger organization. Really enjoyed the experience of working with a small team. From there, I moved to an even smaller team to help a Danish company run their North American operations. Enjoyed that, and then finally had the idea for scholartree, and started out with my then roommate at the time. So it wasn't really a plan. It was just kind of, you find what you like, you keep moving towards it, and ended up at scholartree. Just a team of two decided to start building it out of our apartment.
Okay, so what does scholartree do exactly?
Yeah, scholartree is an online marketplace for scholarships. We help, we try to just make the scholarship program, our process, more efficient for both students and organizations or individuals looking to offer scholarships. So on the student side, we help students find and apply to scholarships. What they do is they create a detailed profile. Based on the information they provide us, we match them to scholarships they're eligible to, and then just give them the tools to easily apply directly online. And then for organizations or individuals, we want to create a platform that made it very easy to start and manage a scholarship program to increase the amount of scholarship money available to Canadian students.
So, small town guy to Toronto, what are the benefits of doing business in Toronto, and what are the challenges of doing business in Toronto?
Yeah, great question. The benefits are definitely the ecosystem that exists for entrepreneurs within Toronto. There's so many different resources you can access for help. Sometimes it's just meetups and hearing other people's stories. I find when I am starting to get a little bit discouraged or, in my own head, going out and talking to other entrepreneurs and hearing their stories, the problems they're dealing with, just uplifts me because you feel like you're not alone. So I would say, just the ecosystem and the amount of business that's done in Toronto is a huge benefit. And then really the only negative is the cost of living is, it's expensive to live in Toronto or around Toronto. And that's the biggest hurdle as an entrepreneur is, keeping your cost of living low because you might not have a ton of revenue coming in at the start. And I would just say, very frankly, that's the biggest challenge is the cost of living.
So some of our best ideas come when we least expect them. How do you disconnect? How do you recharge? Do you get inspired?
Yeah, that's a great question because, I'm sure other entrepreneurs have said the same thing. Like, it's very easy to get sucked in where this is your life 18 hours a day and this is all you do.
Yep,
and
you bet.
It's almost like you have to schedule free time. At least that's what I find.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll pick, one day and one evening on the weekend to either spend time with friends, my girlfriend, family, and just when I'm doing that, it's completely outside of work. There's no checking emails, no checking phone. It's a complete blackout from that type of thing. And then, once that period is done, you can jump back into it. But I think it's extremely important to, go on walks or talk to people, go see movies or whatever you like to do to recharge your batteries, and you'll never know where inspiration will kind of come from.
What kind of vision do you have for your business? Is it national or international now? Is that where you're taking it? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so we're completely national right now. We have students in every province and territory across Canada. We're extremely happy with how we've done that in 18 months. We're at just under 50,000 students signed up and using the platform, which we think is great. So now the choice for us is, do we want to move internationally, or do we now want to start to offer other products or services to students in Canada? Based on our feedback with students, I think we'll go to expand our platform to not only be scholarships, but to be other touch points to help students from high school to their end goal of getting their first job at a university. There's a couple different ways. The most prominent ones are like a professional guidance counseling service, potentially helping with like financial planning, or helping with find co-op jobs and something like that. So we're right at the inflection point, I guess.
So what's the greatest challenge you've faced to date?
Yeah, great question. The greatest challenge is convincing organizations or individuals who have never offered scholarships before the benefits to do so. Because, I mean, to be perfectly frank, the service we offer them is never going to be a need. It's always a nice to have. It's not like a company needs to offer a scholarship. So the sales cycle is definitely longer there, but it's also the education piece of like the advantages of offering a scholarship, the, you know, showing off your brand, your corporate values, but also things people necessarily haven't thought of before. It's a great way to build out your hiring pipeline for young talent. Even if you're only going to award the scholarship to one person, you can catalog the people who are, you know, your finalists and keep engaged with them over time for co-op positions or new grad hires. And then lastly, we found a lot of people have success using scholarships as, you know, almost a straight up marketing tool where it markets products or services that are targeted students. Because for young people now, there's so much noise out there for them that we have a very like captured, focused group of students. So if you're looking to engage with them in any way, scholarships are definitely a viable option.
So what do you know now that you wish you'd known when you were starting your business?
There's so many things, to be honest. I mean, to go.
Okay, what's the most important?
Yeah. The most important is not to get in your own head. A lot of times, some of the best ideas we've put off for months. They kind of die on the cutting room floor of like, you think of reasons of why it's not going to work, when you should actually just shoot your shot, see what happens, get out there, talk to people. The worst you're going to hear is no, or like, no one's going to laugh at you or call you an idiot. So take your shot and see if it works. The best way to figure out if it's a good idea is to put it out there and get feedback.
That's a good piece of advice, but what's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
The best piece of advice I've ever received, it was from a book, and I don't want to misquote it, but I think it was from the Wealthy Barber's like second book. And it was, the best time to plant an oak tree was 80 years ago. The second best time is right now. So, you know, with any advice, it would have been great to know it 5 years ago, but you can't do that. So you might as well act on it now type of thing. So
from an entrepreneurial level, what are the top 3 things on your bucket list, your vision board right now? Yeah, great question. One is for the next 3 months is the slower part when it comes to the student sign up. It'll be a very aggressive push to get on board more people who are going to offer scholarships, because what we've done successfully is make the scholarships we have very available for students, but our real overarching goal is to increase the amount of scholarships available to Canadian students. So definitely that. Number 2 is start to look at scaling the team. We feel like we have a nice formula, but we can, you know, we're very small right now. So scaling the team and all the challenges associated with that. And then 3 is, you know, what's next for us? What does the next year look like? And what are the key development pieces we want to do? Or do we look to moving to the US? So those are by far the 3 biggest things we have. Okay, good. Okay, we're going to go through some kind of rapid fire, fast answer questions, okay. Yep. Whatever you want. So, you know, just shoot it out, the answer. So if you weren't doing what you do for work now, what would you be doing instead? Either something with helping people with personal finances, or just working on a small dynamic team, working on a problem I'm passionate about. Okay. What book are you currently reading, and what books would you recommend? I just picked up a new book. I know it's like the hit book right now. It's The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. So I haven't cracked that, so I can't say anything about that yet. But one I recommend the most is Tim Ferriss' Tools of Titans. It's essentially cliff notes of a bunch of successful people, and I found it great. If you had to pick one word to describe yourself, what would it be and why? Passionate, I think. Just everything I do, I tend to be a loud talker. I tend to really like engaging with people. So I would say passionate for that, yeah. So What's keeping you up at night?
Keeping us up at night is we know we're onto something, but we also know there are other people trying to solve the same problem. So the people you don't know about that are looking to kind of eat your lunch type of thing.
Okay. What's your favorite place in the world to date? Or if you're not sure, where do you think it would be?
Favorite place to take a date?
No, favorite place in the world to date.
My favorite place in the world to date.
As in not in as to, well, maybe it is to date. I don't know,
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I would say right now, my top three would be Copenhagen, Munich, and Vancouver. All for different reasons, but love those cities and just feel really alive when I'm there.
Yeah, I'm with you on Copenhagen. It's a great place. What are the three non-negotiables that have to happen in your morning or evening routine?
Non-negotiables are in my evening, shut down the computer an hour before I go to bed. I just find that my sleep is a deeper, more restful sleep. In the morning, I have to take at least a 15-minute shower. I like a long shower, gives me time to think. And then also in the morning, first thing I do, I mean, this might not be, is I check my calendar for the day, check emails I got overnight, and just plan out my day in very rough specs. Only takes 15 minutes, and then I move on to, breakfast and things like that. But those are the three things that I have to do.
Okay. Do you think entrepreneurs are weird? Or, I mean, is there something special about them? Or is it just anyone can be an entrepreneur?
I think, yes, I definitely think they're weird, but, weird in a good way. And I think the biggest thing is risk tolerance. It's not saying that we're, riskier people. It's just that we know what the risks are and we're willing to be risk adverse in the face of what those risks are. I think given the right circumstances, anyone could really be an entrepreneur. But there is a huge difference between having an idea and executing on that idea. And I think that's where, I don't want to say special, but that's where the weirdness is. You have to have an insane amount of confidence in yourself, or almost like blind faith in your own abilities, and knowing what you want to execute on and being able to do that.
Okay. So here's the tropical island. You might have heard it on a couple of the other podcasts. There's a small, beautiful tropical island in the middle of the ocean with one phone booth and no internet. We drop you off there with no technology at all. At any time, you can use the phone booth on the island to call us in the boat and come and pick you up. How long would you last before making that phone call, and what would you do until you did that?
I love this question. I have heard it on the previous podcast. Because
everyone answers it differently, so it's kind of a fun question.
Yeah, there's so many ways to take it, and depending on what your headspace is, it probably answers differently. I'm gonna try not to give too much of a cop-out answer. If I knew this was coming up and scheduled it, I would say I could do a full week, and then I would spend it relaxing, just enjoying myself. If it was you kidnapped me on my way to work and then dropped me there, I would last 4 to 8 hours total, because the entire time I'd be panicking about what am I missing out on type of thing. But yeah, if I was able to spend a week there, I think I would really try to develop some survival skills, like hunt, fish, just get more in tune with nature, and the more primitive side of the human experience, I guess.
Okay. That's been really good. Some good observations. How can our listeners get hold of you? And do you want to add anything more? Is there any gem that we've missed in here before you leave us today?
The only thing I'll say is, even though as an entrepreneur you're often doing a lot of things on your own, you're never truly alone. There's a lot of organizations, a lot of incubators that you can apply to in the GTA or across Canada, specifically affiliated with the various universities, that often help you get initial grant money, seed funding, things like that. So don't feel like you're on an island by yourself. There are always people willing to help, and feel free to reach out. Your listeners can get a hold of me at Brit.Garon at scholartree.ca is my email, or on LinkedIn, Just search me. It's very easy to find. And yeah, I'm accessible for any types of conversations. If they're interested in starting a scholarship, great. If they just want to talk about things, also cool.
Hey, Brit, thanks for coming on to the show and, talking to our listeners at Canada's podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. This has been a real treat.